Thank you to all for watching the magazine, but a special thank you to all who appeared on our program. We met some amazing women and men small business owners, musicians, artists, authors, celebrities, all within our community. We were also blessed to win the Hometown Media Award for 2023, giving the magazine national recognition, when we will continue to bring you the best that our community has to offer. So please sit back and enjoy some of the highlights of this past year's programming. So how did you expand into Fairhaven, Dartmouth, and eventually Cape Cod?
Well, I think my uncle, Bob, and my father both wanted to take over a restaurant. So my grandparents got together and they decided to buy the place in Fairhaven.
Okay.
And it was new. So my father went to that one and my uncle stayed in New Bedford.
Yep.
In County of Linden. And so that's how we ended up in Fairhaven anyway. From my grandparents. Was their idea.
It was a converted house, so upstairs there was an apartment that was fairly big, and Tom's family lived there for a while. Yep. So he had the back. He was saying earlier how he had the miniature golf course as his backyard. That was so he could play there and everything. So that's a good backyard.
It's a great backyard.
And you didn't have to help mow the lawn either, because there was no. I don't think we had any grass anywhere.
I remember my brother and I were 9 and 10 years old, or even 8 or 9, and. My father used to yell out the window on a Friday or Saturday night, "Tom, Mike, come on in." And we'd have to go in and do dishes and whatever he needed us to do. So that's why I started working there.
Yeah,
right from the get-go.
Well, we joked because I said, that's why you had kids, just so we could work. So they started us. I didn't work in the restaurant for a while, but they started me out on the golf course, and I could work in the summers. But I think I was only like 10 or 12. So hopefully there's nobody listening that on labor laws.
My Uncle Bob and her father, Joe, they all built it.
The golf course, yeah. So that was kind of nice, And my grandfather, they all did it. And my dad was a mathematician, so I came across the plans and I put them up on the Remember in Barbero site on Facebook. But it was just a sketch, and they knew where all the 18 holes were going to be, and then they added the batting cages later.
Then I started deciding I wanted to get back into art. So I looked up what was going on, and I found Deborah Macy, who's a portraitist in one of the best. And I said, she's doing a class at vocational school. I can brush off the cobwebs and get back into it. So I was delighted to go and see Debbie. She's a lovely person. And I started painting my grandchildren to get back into it. And Debbie is a master portraitist, and she comes over and she says, "Well, I hate you already." And I said, "Oh, thank you." And we hugged, and we've been friends ever since.
Oh, that's great.
And she really was such a good help to get me back into it, and she encouraged me to start exhibiting.
Nice.
And I did. I won a first prize at the Beer Society right off the bat, and I went, all right, this is fun. I think I'll keep doing this.
And you have exhibits in Gallery X?
I have exhibited in Gallery X, the Heart Spot Gallery in East Providence, Marion Art Center, the South Coast Artists. I had a big show in April 2023 at the Wamsutta Club, and it was my first solo show.
Oh, wow.
And I sold 14 paintings. So I was like, wow, this is great. That was a lot of fun.
And so how long have you been up and running?
We've been officially up and running for, what is today? Officially up and running about 6 weeks now.
About 6 weeks? Okay.
Yeah, that's
All
it.
right.
So,
and you've had a performance already?
We've had 3 performances.
Okay.
First performance we had was Dory Rubico and her family, Dory Rubico and friends.
Okay.
And we seat 150 people. It was a sellout crowd, standing ovation. She did a wonderful job for us. She brought all of her following to us to introduce to us. It was just a huge kickoff for us.
Oh, that's
so
great.
that was wonderful.
Okay.
Another one we had was Richie Oliver, who does a Cat Stevens tribute.
Oh, wow.
The kid has a great, I say kid, he's in his 30s. He has a great voice, and he's mastered Cat Stevens.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he just did a single. Cat Stevens got a standing ovation.
Oh, that's great.
Again, another great success for us.
Sure.
So we haven't started down the path of dance, theater, and cinema. I have started in cinema, but we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. So is there a admission charge for these performances?
Yeah, there's admission charge. The admission charge is in our mission is not to go over $25 per ticket.
Okay.
That's it. That's
All
the
right.
top for us. Sure. Because we're not a Spire Center, we're not a Narrows, we're not a Zaterian certainly. We are. We want to support all those places. So if a musician comes into a touring musician comes into the Narrows, we may have him over to do a clinic or a master class in our space.
Okay.
All the people that we see here are all locals and regional folks.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
we're not taking touring musicians. We don't have the space for that.
Right.
And that's not our mission. Our
Right.
mission is more education.
Right. But you'll sell out anyway.
Well, because the wonderful talent we have here in Fairhaven and the wonderful community that's supporting it.
I got involved with the Shepherd Center for the Performing Arts through the guitar shop, Fairhaven Frets, owned by Brian Knight, and he pulled me in when they really started getting going with the Shepherd Center, and they needed somebody with some experience in audio and lighting and concert production, and that being my career and profession, and I was a little bit slow at the time, kind of found an opportunity to jump in and help them get started, and it's been fun. It's been a fun challenge building a venue in this small area. We found that there's been a lot of positive support all across the board, a lot of people who are eager to support the arts, and it's been great so far.
Now let's talk about the impact this race has for our community.
Sure. It's hard to kind of put into words, but I think last year, again, Tom is better with the numbers, but I think it was 13,000 that we gave back.
Wow.
Which is just an awesome number, which is why I said it's hard to ask for money, but knowing where it goes.
Sure.
So we give back all over the place, to the fire, to the EMS, to the Fairhaven High School band. You name it,
Yeah.
the gamut is all over the place, and it's all community places. So to me, just from a financial perspective, that's great. But then if you look at the community in terms of the people cheering on the side of the road, and if my son's video, there was one part where it's just he ended it with, in part, a father just with his hand around his son. The kid was like 6 or 7, and the kid just like holding his hand, and they're just kind of standing there, and it's really inspirational. So on a community level, it's as specific as that, like that one interaction with father-son, but it's also as global as giving money back to the police.
Sure.
So it really, I think it hits all aspects of the community.
So this is the first time I've been up here. I've been in the building.
What a shame. It's a beautiful building.
It is a beautiful building.
It's unfortunate.
And such a gem here in our town.
And it's been here for 120 years. This building and masonry has been in Fairhaven for over 150 years.
Yeah,
right in the center of town, and no one knows about it. And our doors are always open. It's almost, gee whiz, why not? In fact, we always are having open house. And just to show people one of the true treasures that were given by Henry Huddleston Rogers. And it was given to George, well, it was named after George H. Tabor.
How did that come about?
George H. Tabor, I'm pretty sure it was the Sunday school teacher for Henry Huddleston Rogers. And they developed a very strong friendship throughout their whole life. And, as we know, with Rogers, as he advanced in his life, he became very prosperous and always had a very deep feeling for Henry Huddleston Rogers. And when this building was built, it's the first time ever that a Masonic lodge was ever dedicated to a living person.
Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think it was dedicated when he was about 93 or so.
Oh, wow.
And he had made it here. And in fact, I think Mark Twain came and spoke at the dedication along with Henry Huddleston Rogers. And that just through, I think, some of the teaching that Henry Huddleston Rogers also learned through being a Mason is his philanthropy throughout the town, as we all know, through our beautiful buildings and waterworks and everything here. And my personal opinion is that he took those teachings that we have because of giving back to society.
Okay, so Braley, let's back it up just a little bit because there was a lot of process that went into this historic building.
Yes.
Starting as Keith's Theater, and then Bijou Theater, and then it was left abandoned.
Correct.
So What steps and processes did you have to go through in order to make this into the beauty that it is right now?
So when I first came in here, I came, like I said, my friend Nate had brought me, and it was just my own view of what it was. Now, my father is a developer, and that's his profession. So he knows everything to do with construction. So I had put a bug in his ear about it, and I had told him that I wanted him to come check it out before I made any moves, because he would point me in the right direction. So he came in here and he was like, whoa. He was like, this is gonna need a lot of work, and it's gonna take a lot of money. So I'm like, can it be done? And he's like, of course it can be done. It's just a huge project. So, I hired his guys, his subcontractors, and if it wasn't for those guys, I mean, it probably would not have happened.
Okay.
Because they just put so much time. They worked so hard. My dad has helped so much through this whole, if it wasn't for him, I would not be able to do it either. So just having that a good circle of, good people helping you out. That's what it's all about. Everyone working together. But this place was a wreck. Like, it was just sitting for
It was abandoned for
20
so long.
years or something like that. So leaks and holes and just so much to be repaired and just bring back to life. And I think that's I'm so proud of everything that myself and the guys that have helped me do all this. Like, you look at the pictures, I have so many pictures. You look at the pictures on what it was and what it is now, and there's so many people that said it couldn't be done, and they had their doubts about it.
So you started out, with the music, but then you purchased a 52-acre farm, basically.
Yeah.
And what was your vision for this?
Well, when I first saw it and we decided to purchase it, it was for my landscape construction business. And since this is agricultural use, we thought we could maybe start a tree nursery. We pull a lot of trees off of projects, we plant them in the grounds, we bring them back to health, and we were going to start doing some new tree growing, and kind of worked hand in hand with our landscape business. And it was absolutely woods to the streets. And when we cleared it all out, you could barely get to this barn. It was trailer trucks and boats and around it. And we got it all cleared out and put in a road and shaped up. And then this little area right outside the barn, I saw that and I said, well, this is agricultural. And I've been making wine for years. Started off watching my grandfather make wine when he came over from Italy, and we grew up drinking that, Sunday meals. And
Is that called viticulture?
Viticulture is the production and the management of the vines.
Okay.
And so I decided, I'd been making wine with friends and family for the past 25 years, and decided, why not try to grow some grapes here and put a little vineyard, kind of my own personal vineyard out here. And once I started, it was hard to stop. It's a beautiful, beautiful process. And when you see the grapes growing, it's like magic. You've created this. And I just kind of continued from 2017 to another plot in 2018 and 19 and 20 and 21. And now we got 4 acres planted.
Wow, that's great. So it started at plot A and then it just developed.
Exactly. And plot A was just a test, couple reds, couple whites, and try to see what grew well, what we liked. And while I was at it, I wanted to put in a little orchard, so I put in 180 fruit trees out front. We got pears, peaches, plums, apples, and some cherries, and we wanted to start incorporating that into the wines as well, now that we're starting to get some harvests.
Well, you provide a unique service to our community with Old Town Fairhaven. What prompted you to launch this Facebook page?
Yeah, so I think we had 2020 was an interesting year at many different levels. We had federal politics where there was a lot of division at the federal, state, and local level. Then we had the pandemic, And I think we saw a lot of different people, families arguing, whether it was in person or online. And, it was something that we felt like we had a responsibility to put ourselves out there and give back to the community. And I think Old Town Fairhaven was a way to do that. We put a lot of ourselves into that. I think you can see that.
Yes, absolutely.
But, and we do that in a way with humor and also allowing people to shape and form the conversations. So I think that was a big driver with that.
Absolutely. And what does the page represent?
I think the page represents us, but not us directly, because it's not about us. We wanted to be able to share more of our side of things and our views and our beliefs. We believe that everybody should have a fair opportunity and not feel like their opinions are devalued. So by creating this page, we've given everybody an open quorum to discuss topics such as, day-to-day happenings in town or government issues without feeling objected.
Yeah, but this is what makes it happen, is that the participants get to enjoy the program for free, and they come to expect it, right? It's been going for 13 years. Without the sponsors, there isn't the financial conduit to make this happen. So although it's free to participate, we say you pay for it two ways. One, in sweat equity, you show up, and two, you say thank you to the people that are offering this. And in that way, as you know, it really brings a sense of community together. Sangha is the word in yoga for community.
Okay.
So the whole idea is that we're all very different, unique, lots of different labels. We want to be individuals, and yet at the center of us all is that joy, harmony, peace, and interconnection, or it certainly can be.
Sure. And for 13 years, that's a long time already. And the secret of your success is?
Oh yeah, we're not going to tell you that.
You can ask the people that have been coming year after year after year.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that shows itself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So David, tell us about a typical class that you run.
Sure. So a typical class, we're setting up underneath the canopy of some beautiful oak trees that are probably well over 100 years old. There's sunny spots for people that are sun lovers, and so people typically bring a yoga mat or a towel and practice on that. So it's beautiful in that way that you can just practice in the setting that you want to. Again, there's all different levels of practice here, so you don't really have to know even a single yoga pose, and you can come and practice with us.
And how long have you been teaching yoga?
Oh boy, maybe close to 10 or 11 years now.
Oh, wow.
I'm not quite sure, but yeah, so I learned how to teach yoga in California, Watsonville, California. I lived up on a mountain for 30 days, secluded, learning the teachings of yoga and how to bring them to the world.
Well, we really appreciate you doing this here in Cushman Park.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to. Again, I feel like yoga is so important for people. You really want to connect to that sense of self, and that's what the classes are geared towards. They're themed, so each week we have a particular theme that we're working with. Today was all about joy and helping people to reconnect with a sense of joy within themselves. And so it transcends. It's not just about the physical movement. Yoga is a practice that we do in our bodies, but it's also very breath-centered. My teaching style is not so much about like the fitness side of things, although you do get quite a workout from doing yoga, but it's more geared towards reconnecting with your sense of self.
Absolutely. So what's been happening?
So since that point, we've definitely grown a lot. The main thing is we moved locations. We moved over to 160 Huddleston Avenue in Fairhaven. The old location was great. The only thing about it was I outgrew it very, very quickly. The inventory came to the point where we had it on the floor. So at the end of 2023, I started looking for new places, and that's when I found this one in November, and I moved in January, and it's over twice the size of the old store. So It's on a busier street as well, so it was only positive things coming over here as far as like space goes. It really allowed me to like branch into more stuff as well. 2 rooms here, it's a lot bigger. It allowed me to branch more into clothes, which at the old location was not a big focus. I at first opened business only on shoes, only sneakers. We started bringing clothes in sometime like last year, and it's just really blown up, and it's actually generated a big part of the store's sales. So I'm glad that we were able to bring that in, and also being on the busiest road in Fairhaven with advertising the logo and stuff. It's definitely drawn in, more business, just growing as well.
We started taking in rescues, and we had to figure out a way that we could support the rescues. So we started taking one little pony around and doing pony rides to help support the old mule Molly that we took in, was one of our first rescues. So me and the girls did that. And then we started seeing in the industry that the petting zoo animals, there's petting zoos, pony rides and petting zoos. The petting zoo animals, then later, what happens to them? People are bringing little babies, and then what happens with those little babies?
Right.
So we started taking in more rescues, and we self-funded it for the last 6 years, and last year we went non-for-profit.
Okay.
We create a lot of educational programs, Alexis does. And now we would like to bring educational programs. You can jump in at any time.
We wanted to see what it was like for animals to live a full and happy life.
Okay.
So when children started to come here, we noticed that they were understanding the rescue animals in ways that we couldn't. They were going through experiences alongside of them that include change and grief and loss. They were healing together. And that's something that happens naturally in nature, and we were bearing witness to it.
Okay.
To create these educational programs, I was allowing anybody to come in, aged 4 to 17, breaking down these programs, providing crafts and activities that would move along the day, but allowing them to have this connection with the animals that wasn't controlled in any way. I just allowed it to happen. They would snuggle with the animals, watch them grow, meet these goals and ideas of, okay, I want this animal to have a certain type of housing long term. How do I make that happen? They like this type of bedding. This is what makes them comfortable. So they were showing up every week and meeting these goals. I started to create more programs that followed the needs of what they were bringing to me through what we had initially created. And now we have homeschool co-ops and summer camps for ages 4 to 17 that meet those goals.
Now you can see that the desks that have been taken out, which they've been taking them out over the last several weeks, 12 at a time, and when they bring back in 12 restored desks, and these 20 desks on this side of the room have all been completed, and you can see what a great job Cape Cod Furniture Restoration has done with them. The desks that are empty here, these will be coming back in over the next few weeks, and then the remainder of the room on this end, the rest of the 102 desks, those will all be done hopefully by the end of September, early October. If you're wondering how the Alumni Association funds projects like this, we have one fundraiser each year. It's called the Light a Light fundraiser, which we start in October, and it goes through the holiday season. And basically, we ask our alums to donate whatever amount that they want, and for every $10 that we receive, we light a light bulb on our beautiful blue spruce tree that's out on the west lawn of the high school. Our alums have been extremely generous over the years, and we've been able to fund a lot of these type of projects.
Now, the early settlers, you may be aware that probably one of the earliest settlers was John Cook, and he came to this area in the 1650s with a group of people that settled here, called this Oxford Village. Okay. And actually on this property, we have the ruins of the oldest standing structure in the city of Fairhaven, and that is the Thomas Tabor ruins. Okay. One of his daughters married a man by the name of Thomas Tabor, and in the 1678, 1680 time period, he built a stone ender house which is right next to the William Wood House, which eventually became the Joseph Bates home.
Okay.
And so all we have left is the stone end, because after the last person moved out in about 1850, hurricanes came along and took down the little wooden cabin and actually even the chimney. So that's gone as well. But at least we have the stone ender wall,
Okay.
which is free for anyone to come and see, and dates all the way back to about 1680. So that's really old.
So I think it's kind of neat that we have a connection here on this property that takes us all the way back to the Mayflower.
Yes.
Because it was John Cook, the youngest person on the Mayflower. I think he was 14 at the time. So we have this connection, and it was like 60 years from the Mayflower to the Tabor House, another 60 years when William Wood built the cabin.
Yeah.
This has been enlarged, of course, but he built the cabin, and then it was another 50 years before the Bates family actually moved in. So the cabin itself that Wood built was 50 years old when the Bates family moved in. But it was just a 4-room cabin. You know, the upstairs bedroom, this room, the stairway was considered a room, and there's a small storage room in the back. And we find it very interesting that there were 9 in the family, and how they lived in this size of a cabin.
Right.
Who knows, but they managed somehow.
And then the Bates family lived here from 1793 until about 1831, when they transferred the title of the deed, Joseph did, to his younger brother Franklin, who then sold it to his sister-in-law, Anne Hathaway. And so Anne Hathaway's family and her descendants lived in this house for 6 consecutive generations.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was how the house grew in size. And
take us back to the beginning, like what the schoolhouse was, back to the Oxford Village, the first district. So tell us something about that.
Yeah, it's an amazing story when you think about what this town must have looked like back then. So 1828 is the year that this school was built.
Mm-hmm.
The land on which it was built was purchased for $20, and the school was built for $520.
Wow.
So, in today's money, that actually was fairly significant, but
Yeah.
at the time, it was certainly a state-of-the-art school. One of the nice things about this particular schoolhouse was that it had an outhouse. Most of them did not, and you had to just find a bush and hope for the best. But this one had amenities like that. The school day was long. It usually started around 8 in the morning and often went until about 5 p.m. Classrooms at that time would be about 30 children, and they would have been ages 5 to 16. So if you can imagine trying to manage that level of difference in ages and just readiness for schooling, et cetera, it must have been quite challenging.
Oh, I bet. How many schools were in town at that time?
I believe that there were 6 total. There are still 2 in existence. This one, of course, which is a museum. The other one that still is standing is on Sconticut Neck Road and is a private residence.
Oh, okay.
The others were all raised when they were no longer being used.
Okay. And what were the age groups that were attending those other schools?
Same. It would have been about the same. Yep. So at that time, the concept of the one-room schoolhouse, what's challenging, I think, for a lot of modern people is to think that, we think about schoolhouses the way that we went to school. So, and actually much the way that this school here is set up, like rows of students all kind of facing the teacher and learning. That actually would not have been the case from about 1828 when the school opened until about 1865, 70. The school actually was set up more in a horseshoe with the students all facing in. And most of the education was actually self-directed. The teacher was here mostly to maintain discipline and to listen to recitations when a student was ready to present themselves as having learned the material. But the ideas of curriculum and a teacher standing and presenting to a classroom, that really was post-Civil War when it came to that type of education.